Are we on? Yep. If y'all don't mind, we're going to get started. I'm waiting on one more commissioner. He's back there visiting. As soon as he gets up, we'll get started. If you want to find a seat or a wall or somewhere to stand, and we'll get started in just a minute.
Javier, ¿cómo le va, amigo? Nice to see you. ¿Todo okay? Qué bueno, nice to see you. How's your dad? Qué bueno.
Yeah, but there was never any discussion on how or who.
Give it to me.
Hey, how's it going? Good. You doing all right? Good. Good to see you.
How's your hawk situation up there? You getting one?
No, no, we're shooting them and they just keep coming. Nah, we're just hunting and trapping and stuff like that. Yeah, the problem is I got like 100,000 acres around me that nobody hunts on, so it doesn't matter what the hell I do. If I can just keep them pushed out a little bit, then we're in good shape. That's exactly the problem I got.
Okay. Are we good? Pat, you'll be the first one with the resolution? Okay, that'll work. That'll work. Thank you, no damn mic. We good? We good? Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Call this meeting to order. Determine that there's a quorum present. Hold on 1 minute. Commissioner Wardlaw, Commissioner Vasquez, Commissioner Nettleton, Commissioner Flores, and myself, we have a quorum. If y'all will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Wardlaw, if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the nation which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. Real quick, I want to thank the City of Del Rio. Without them, this would not be possible. I want to thank the Commissioners Court, everybody to show up, the city staff, and our city manager, John, Lino, Anita, and the staff here at the Civic Center and the IT department. Thank y'all so much. This would not be possible without them. And to everybody that's attending, I think it's important for us to hear y'all's comments. I want to thank y'all for coming. Are we good? I want to thank y'all for coming, and we had some sign-up sheets, and we are here to listen to y'all. And it don't matter, folks, whether we want to do this at the SC Ranch or do it at the sports complex. You know, I will tell you that this court that I am a part of has done an amazing job all these years, even the previous courts before us. I don't think the conversation is, do we need or do we want a sports complex? That is not the conversation. The conversation is, do we build it at the Fairgrounds or do we build it at the SC Ranch? I don't think, and Commissioner John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that anybody sitting up here disagrees that we need to do more for our youth. Again, that is not the conversation. And in saying that, we'll go ahead, citizens' comments, item 4. Instead of doing that one, we're going to go ahead and go into item 5. That way we can have a discussion if need be. So we'll go on to item 5, discussion possible action on sports complex and or fairgrounds. And before we get started on that, I'm going to give y'all a little bit of a history. The SC Ranch was bought in 2019 at the cost of $6 million. We did 2 notes. One of them being for $1.7 million and the other one for the $4.3 million. And the reason we split it because it was taxable and non-taxable. And the reason we needed to do that was because 1,300 acres of it was set up in case we wanted to rent it out or do something. At that point, we were looking at a solar farm. it would have been the piece between 90 East and 277. SL 79 goes almost right through the middle of this property. So everything between SL 79 and towards the city of Del Rio, we were looking at a solar farm to help try to pay for this. So we ended up having to split it in two different notes. There's been some comments, and they're absolutely true, from everybody, that when we bought this, the SE Ranch was bought in two different notes, one of them so we could do something else with about half of it other than just a county usage. So we had talked about an ATVs, we had talked about nature trails, all this was part of that discussion, and also the part of that discussion was a sports complex out there. That was one of the reasons that we bought it. Not the reason, but one of the reasons. And the reason I'm telling y'all this is because, you know, we need to be just as transparent as possible when we're trying to make a decision with y'all's money. One of the other things was, and you're going to see some slides up here later after we get comments, as to far as location. Again, the court, the discussion is where, not if, or if we go to build it. So there was, the reason we bought it was at that point to do a sports complex or do something for county usage. We did take several votes, and as I was reminded since January, everybody has the right to change their mind. But we did take 4 or 5 votes and unanimous votes to put the sports complex at the fairgrounds. Again, we all have the right to change our mind. Commissioners, do y'all want to say something, or you want to go straight into citizens' comments? I will leave it up to y'all right now. Commissioner Wardlaw, would you like to say something? Or
Let's hear some comments.
Okay, Commissioner Vasquez.
I'll
Comments?
wait on some comments.
Just listen.
Commissioner Flores, are we good? First up, we have Mr. Rodriguez, Pat Rodriguez. Pat, you have the floor. Is your mic on before you start?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to be present here tonight. This is a joint statement with all the major leagues in the city. United and with one voice, the following youth sports leagues: Del Rio Laughlin Youth Soccer Association, Del Rio Youth Football League, Del Rio Babe Ruth Baseball League, Del Rio Little League, and Boys and Girls Club of Del Rio hereby declare in a definitive manner our full support for construction of the proposed Valverde Sports Complex at the Valverde County Fairgrounds. In terms of convenience, financial benefits, community need, and agreement, the Valverde Fairgrounds is an ideal location for a future sports complex. The Valverde County Fairgrounds are centrally located within the city of Del Rio. Whether one is coming from the base or the lake, Cienegas or San Felipe, the distance from the fairgrounds is basically equal. No site will be ideal for everyone, but we can choose a location that would be reasonable for all. A sports complex should benefit our entire community. Therefore, it is logical that it be placed in a centrally located region inside the city where we will have equitable access. The fairgrounds meet this criteria. Another geographic advantage to building the proposed complex at the fairgrounds is that it would encourage commerce in our community. When out-of-town teams travel into our city for sports competitions and tournaments, by situating the complex in a central location, it will necessitate that those coming from out of town traverse the major commercial sectors of our city. The result will be increased business for hotels, restaurants, gas stations, and other stores, as there will be a significantly greater likelihood that those visiting our city will stop and spend money. Placing the sports complex at the fairgrounds will increase our county's revenue and thereby help pay for itself. Building a sports complex has been discussed for far too many years. Now, after the county has invested money and time on plans and votes, we are faced with scrapping everything and starting anew. The lack of will to follow through with plans by continuously putting the issue into debate and vote, then more debate, yet another vote, has had real and actual consequences. Too many kids have gone through their childhoods hearing about the possibility of a complex being built, but gotten only broken promises. You have the power right now to change the course of the children of Valverde County. Looking at what Eagle Pass and Uvalde already have and wondering why they cannot have the same. Our kids deserve better. Our kids deserve for you, who have the authority and power to find it within yourselves to commit to a plan and see it through. Elsewhere, you will fail them, not us. As leaders of our community's major sports leagues, let us be clear that we are in unanimous and undivided agreement that the best location for the proposed sports complex are the fairgrounds. We implore you to listen to our voices, benefit from our experience, and value our input, as our leagues will be among the primary users of the complex. Further delay is unacceptable. The talking and considering has dragged on for years. Now is the time for action and commitment. Our leagues represent over 2,000 kids, their parents, and an entire community of volunteers. We come before you with this declaration so that you are aware that this issue is important, that we are strong in numbers, and that our determination to see results will be unyielding. As such, our firm and solid position as representatives of our youth sports community is that the proposed Valverde County complex be located at the Valverde County Fairgrounds. Signed, all the major presidents of the leagues.
Do you have any questions for Pat?
Real quick, and I guess I should have started with this one. There's been some concerns about a deed that was dated in 1940. The deed, I'd asked Abner Martinez to bring it forward, or to look for it and see what he could come up with as far as legal description of the property. I've also asked our county clerk, Ms. Janie Ramon, if she would certify a copy of it. At that point, I gave it to Mr. Martinez, and I know that there was a concern that the fairgrounds could only be used for racetrack or equine. And I guess before we move forward with what you've been presented, Mr. Martinez, and looking at it, I guess the question is, can we actually build the sports complex on the 74 point some odd acres that was deeded, I think it was October 3rd, 1940. I mean, in the paper that you've received, is that possible?
Yes, Judge. I did have the opportunity to review that document, and clearly the plans of this court regarding a sports complex at the fairgrounds are completely in line with the wishes of the grantor. And I will read just a very brief portion of that deed. It says, or it reads, "It is distinctly understood that the land herein conveyed is to be used as a fairground and/or racetrack and/or baseball and football field and/or other athletic enterprises and for no other purposes." So clearly, Judge, this is within the scope of the grantor's wishes.
Okay. Thank you, David. Thank you. Our next individual is Virgil Armstrong. Is he here? Here he comes.
Good evening. Not going to really just repeat what Pat said. It couldn't be said better right there. I represent the Del Rio Youth Football League. And we have been around for quite some time, long. I know a lot of you guys can sit in here and talk about, you played for the Ponies, played for the Chiefs, you played for, the Cowboys, teams like that. I hear it all the time, even back when they represented at the school level. We've since grown away from the schools and have become independent of that. And the simple thing is, what we struggle with each and every year is finding a place to play, finding a place to practice for our boys and our girls to cheer. The Del Rio Youth Football League is growing every year. It might not be a whole bunch, but it is growing every year. And we are now looking at bringing in Eagle Pass. Eagle Pass cannot maintain a youth football league. We are looking to bring them in with us. For whatever reason, they cannot. Uvalde is also looking. We're having these conversations to bring them in with us as well. Just this last year alone, 2020, and it rivals some of our past numbers, we had over 260 participants, young men and women future Rams, future Queens for Del Rio that participated in the Del Rio Youth Football League. We have over 84 coaches, volunteers that participate in part of our league. They commit 2 hours, minimum 2 hours a day from August all the way through the end of November. Just this last year alone, I'll say this, within the last couple of years, and it keeps growing and getting bigger every year, we host a championship day where we bring in, we had 1 year we actually traveled to San Angelo and played some teams up there. And these last couple of years, we've actually hosted teams right here in Del Rio. The Del Rio High School, the athletic department has been nice enough to let us play on some of the Rams fields. And so it's benefited everybody that's been involved. Again, we're talking about what Pat repeated, bringing commerce into Del Rio, you know, through the restaurants. Some of the families may stay because some of the games run late into the day. They may choose to stay the night. That's just who we are, the Del Rio Youth Football League. And again, I talked about when I opened up my statement about having a place to play, having a place to practice. Every year, you know, we are scrambling in 20 different directions, trying to find a place for us to play, trying to find a place for us to practice. The sports complex right here in Del Rio, within minutes drive for a lot of people, right here at the Fairgrounds. And I speak on behalf of a lot of volunteers here. If I could real quick, just a show of hands, who here in the room is actually a volunteer coach? Show your hands, please. Raise them up high. Thank you each for your time. Thank you again for committing to come in here tonight and be present for this. You know, it means a lot for us to be able to sit here. And thank you, Judge. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to speak on behalf of our community and be able to put forward a voice for what we believe. You know, and the people behind me, I think they believe the same thing, and I don't believe otherwise they'd be here. First off, the sports complex is a need. It is a must for our kids here in Del Rio to watch them grow. I mean, there's not a child in the room, if there is, you know, here, a parent in the room that does not have a desire for their children to be better every year, get better, and to have a place to play, a consistent place that brings in these travel teams, that we can have year-round tournaments, year-round leagues, you know, where we're not just a travel league or a travel team that's traveling out all the time because we don't have a place to host places to come in or teams to come here and play. The sports complex, and again, I agree with Pat, and I think a lot of people in this room, at the Fairgrounds is where it needs to be, centrally located. It's equal to everybody that's in the community. I have nothing against the SE Ranch. I've never been there. But, you know, we talk about, you know, some of the things that have already been brought to our attention monetarily and stuff like that. The Fairgrounds is probably going to be a best bet for the county. Again, that's a personal opinion, and for anybody else that's been privy to that information, it just makes common sense. I'd like to thank you again for allowing me to speak, representing a lot of the people behind me. That's all I have. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Virgil, Commissioner Wardlaw wanted to ask you a question.
Virgil, I'm very impressed with what y'all do with the football and the coaches. How many coaches you say are involved?
There's over 84 volunteer coaches. That's cheer and football, sir.
And so how many fields are being operated at once that are practiced?
There's seven teams, all trying to find a place around. You know, we have been lucky enough the last 2 years to be able to play on the middle school, the turf field over there. That's working with the schools to allow us to play there on every Saturday when we do play. Now our practice fields, we're scrambling. You know, a lot of times, fields just get worse. They don't get water. We don't get any rain. You know, what was a good field last year is now just nothing but dirt. And so we're trying to find.
You're talking about a lot of fields and a lot of room, right?
Yes, sir. We are.
Hey, I agree, and you need a lot of room for that. And all these where you can have tournaments, these people can come in, Eagle Pass and all. It's going to take a lot of room, right?
It will.
Thank you, sir.
I've got something to say, Mr. Armstrong.
1 minute.
My biggest concern, and I'm all for a sports complex, believe me, I want it more than anybody. but it's future growth. Okay, at the fairgrounds, we're gonna squeeze all these fields in. So in 5, 10 years, you come to the court saying, hey, we need another field or two, there's no room for it. SC Ranch, you got plenty of land to grow with. And you can build all the fields you want, all the fields you need. You're talking over 1,000 acres on this side of the loop. Good level land. That's something y'all need to look at and think about. Future growth. Squeezed in 40 acres, 50 acres of fields, and that's it, you're done. 5, 10 years, you gotta look for some other place to build them.
Honestly hope we've grown that big. I do.
No, we are, believe me. I mean, we're growing every day. This ain't stopping, especially the border town. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you.
Virgil. I just don't say, I'm just looking at this plan here. I think we've got one football field on here on this.
It is. Only one football field. We improvise, adapt, and overcome every year.
Well,
we beg, borrow, steal. We practice on baseball fields. We practice on softball fields. We do seem overlooked at times. Baseball is a very popular sport. Soccer is even more popular sport. But we practice where we can.
but so how would 20 football fields be? Great, man. As many coaches you've got, as many teams. Hey, that's what I want to see is growth.
I understand that. Thank you, Commissioner.
And I appreciate what y'all are doing, and I commend all the coaches. I know that's hours a day, no pay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Don't leave yet. He's been trying to ask a question.
Mr. Virgil, my name is Juan Carlos Vasquez. I represent Precinct 2,
Yes, sir.
close to the SC Ranch. And I heard that you've never visited the SC Ranch, and I'm making a personal invitation to you, Mr. Virgil, and anybody else that would like to go out there and see what the SC Ranch, what it consists of. Feel free to call me, and I'll be more than happy to give y'all an invitation out there so y'all can see how big it is,
Okay.
the whole
Thank you very
area.
much.
And again, when I first started this, that there isn't a member up here that doesn't believe that we need a sports complex. Again, y'all have gotten a lot of lip service from us and just everybody before. There's always has to be a plan. Every time that I've spoke with y'all or speak with anybody else, there has to be a plan. I've never seen a plan by the 3 individuals in January that voted out at the SC Ranch. Okay, so I'm gonna throw that out there. Do you have a plan in front of y'all now that can be done now? There's 76 acres. Frank Larson, I think y'all, matter of fact, it got voted down, a bond in 2017, I think. But there's 76 acres there also that there is plans because he's willing to donate the land, and he's probably going to get mad because I said it. But he's willing to donate that land towards, and it's where the old Park Service used to be. It's from there, across the street from Margarita. There's 76 acres there that could also be developed. And the conversation is, well, if we did it at SC Ranch, we could do everything. I guess my opinion, and we've already heard their opinion, is that there is a lot of property out there for future growth. There is. But we're not growing that way. Our community's not growing that way. And here in a little bit, we'll present some slides as to where the center of our town or the center of from Las Brisas or from the edge of Lake Ridge to the base, which area is the center of our community.
If I could also add, Judge, the central location, and we talk about the logistics of where the SE Ranch is located, to be able to go out there and spend an entire day. You have to be, it's almost like you're going to travel to a track meet or something like that. You better pack all your food, you better go, stuff like that. I mean, if not, you're going to have to take or invite, food trucks or otherwise to go out there and provide some sort of resource for these families, these large groups of kids and stuff like that. Whereas, here at the fairgrounds, you're just a couple of minutes drive from any direction to hit, what some of our major restaurants. And what the high school is actually doing and building right there?
I threw some rocks right now, and I didn't mean to. I will tell you again that this court, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with them. What we've been through in the last 3 years has been a lot of kids here, so I'm not going to. It has been remarkable what we've been able to accomplish. This is just a difference of opinion. And like I said before, we will work through this. If it stands that we build it out at the SE Ranch, like I've told y'all, as county judge, if it's whatever the vote is, and it's still to build it out at the SE Ranch, then we build it out at the SE Ranch, and it's my job as county judge to make sure the thing gets done. After the vote, which I'm not asking for it to be done today, but after the vote, and we take a vote and we decide, we will move forward with it, and we're done, okay? If you'll look, I'm going to turn my back to y'all just a little bit. If you'll look, this is the fairgrounds back here behind us. It's 9.6 miles from the edge of the base to the fairgrounds. It's 8.37 miles to the end of Lake Ridge to the fairgrounds. Buena Vista, 3.35, Cinegas Terrace, 4.6, San Felipe, 3.1, Valverde Park Estates, 5.93. So when you look at the map as to the distance, you have from 8.37 to 9.6. Get me to the other slide, please. Then you go to this one, and let's say SE Ranch. Right here where it says SE Ranch at the H, that is SL 79 and where the road goes to Mexico, okay? So depending on where we put it at the SE Ranch, that's pretty much the center of SE Ranch. You have 1.31 miles to Laughlin, which the other one was 8 point something, but you've got 14.44 miles to Lake Ridge. You have 10.85 to Buena Vista, you've got 4.2 miles to Valverde, and you've got 10.82 miles to Cinegas. San Felipe, the same point, you're still 5.25 miles. So if we're gonna talk about logistics and just where is the center of town, the one before this makes all the sense in the world. If you're saying, well, you know, we're hoping growth and we want to be able to build you 5, 10, 15 more football fields, and we don't have the room for growth at Fairgrounds, they're absolutely right. We don't have room for more growth at the Fairgrounds unless we go to move something, okay? There is a future plan on the plan that we had for a 90-some-odd thousand square foot, sort of like a Fairplex type deal at the Fairgrounds. And there's room there, but if you say, well, you know, what's there is there, folks, I'm not going to lie to you. What the plan is what the plan is. I'm not going to build you more football fields at the Fairgrounds. Can't do it. But we can go build them at the 76 acres to the side that we have more growth. That's all I'm saying, all right? You can look at the map. You will have a lot more room for future growth out at the SE Ranch. Nobody's going to say no. It's you can.
Judge?
I've been here 11 years, and we talk about getting stuff done. Commissioner, were you going? Who picked up the mic? You did. I'll finish real quick. I'm sorry, Commissioner. Again, you have a court up here that will make a decision, and then we will move forward. Whatever that decision is, at some point, I think before this year's out, you will see some action. Where? I don't know. Commissioner Flores, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make a comment here concerning Lake Ridge area to the SE Ranch. If you get on the loop, it's a 10, 15-minute drive. I mean, you know, it's not going to take you 30, 40 minutes to get there. And those 76 acres you're talking about, I mean, that would take a lot of landscaping work. I mean, it's a hole in the ground, so it'd be hard to get some good fields out of that 76 acres.
Y'all want to make another comment? Y'all okay? Yes. See, we're so far? I'm sorry. Commissioner Nettleton?
Well, I agree with what everybody up here is saying and what everybody out there is saying. We need a lot more than what this will produce, there's no doubt about it, but something's better than nothing. We need to remember why we bought the SE Ranch. It's an encroachment issue. It's been an issue for Laughlin for many, many years. We spent $6 million buying it to make sure that there's not encroachment. Can we build a sports complex out there? Absolutely can. Once you start running infrastructure out there, you'll see other development. And sooner or later, the government entity that fought to protect the asset that makes this community function will be the government entity that ends up destroying our ability to keep it functioning. We have to be careful what we're doing with that. I am all for building 100 fields, but let's be realistic about what it costs to build them. My son played Pee Wee football. We went to Bracketville to play our tournaments. My daughter played softball. We traveled all over the United States because we couldn't host tournaments here in Del Rio because we didn't have enough fields. My other daughter played volleyball, which she no longer does because we have no indoor facilities to accomplish that task. It would be great to have everything that we want and be able to expand from now to the end of time, but I am not going to do it at the cost of losing the one thing that keeps this community afloat, and that is our base. The purpose of buying the SE Ranch was to protect that from ever happening. Once you start running infrastructure out there, water, sewer, gas, electrical, you put lighting, everything else, you are putting yourself in jeopardy. And I will never support that. I am all for, if we find a piece of land somewhere where we can put 100 fields, I'll support it all day long. I'm the member of this court that stood up and tried to get an election passed to build it. This is my third go around. In 1998, we tried one on Eagle Pass Hill. It failed. The one out here in 2017 failed. In 1998, if we would have built it, it would have cost $12 million. It was 3 times the size of this one. The one in 2017 was $20 million. The continual cost to go up to do absolutely nothing, and our children that play these sports, go to school at the high school. I can tell you that the Queens cannot host a tournament at the high school because they don't have enough fields, so they travel every weekend. They're gone every single weekend. 2 more fields would allow them to host a tournament. Not 2 fields out in the middle of nowhere, but 2 fields at the school. This is not the total answer. This is not the solution to our ultimate problem by any form or fashion. This is a start, and it's only a start in the right direction. We will never get where we need to go as long as this community grows, but we will never get there if we don't start somewhere. And the SE Ranch is not the answer, in my opinion. It's my opinion. I'm 1 vote on this court. I will never vote for anything like that out there because I believe it is the wrong location and it's not the purpose of what we intended to do with that piece of property.
Going back to the SU Ranch, if we were to build a sports complex over there, that is not residential development nor commercial. It's a sports complex. Nobody's going to live out there. Nobody's going to do business over there. It's going to be a sports complex, period. Excuse me?
Let's wait, and if you want to speak in a little bit, y'all can come up to the mic, because if we sort of open it up for everybody in the audience, it's just going to be chaos, and then at that point, pues se le salieron el Owens, so we'll just wait.
Real quick, Judge, I just want to add one last thing. It was brought to my attention about some of the kids that actually, their parents can't, get them to these activities on a day-to-day basis, so they ride their bikes. They ride their bikes to practice, to the game sometimes and stuff like that. Where, again, the SE Ranch, that's virtually, they're not going to be riding down Highway 90.
I appreciate it. We're going to try to move on to some more comments, and I'm getting text messages that I need to be quiet and let more people talk. So, Ms. Gutierrez, if you want to come up, please, and then we'll go through this list, and then if there's nobody else left on the list, we'll open it up for some more comments, and then we'll move on from there.
Good evening, Judge and Commissioners Court. First of all, I have to tell you I applaud the efforts that you have made so far. I know most of you professionally, some of you a little bit more personally that I've worked with, and I can tell you and assure everyone here today that everyone is trying to do the right thing for our community. I am a community volunteer. I don't have children in the school system anymore, but I know that they struggled when they were there to have places, and that was way back in 2000. So it's very encouraging to see that we're at a point right now where we can actually make a difference. It's true that the longer that we delay in starting something, we may never end up having anything. We always compare ourselves to Eagle Pass. Why is Eagle Pass now going to build another sports field when we can't even get our first one going. Eagle Pass is getting their third international bridge, and we can't get our second one going. And now, and those delays are costly. However, there's a couple of things that we need to be fair about. First of all, details, and that's what I'm here for. Just in order to be fair and make an informed decision about where we do want it, I have a question at the Fairplex, at the Fairgrounds. Is there going to be a fee for the use of this facility?
This court's never charged fees to the youth for use of any of our facilities.
Okay, but it is a collaboration with the City of Del Rio and the school district, is that right?
Well, those have not been worked out. Right now, this is a county project. I mean, whether the school or the city come on board, that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay, but there would be no fees. So,
What we're looking at right now, and I put this map on, and Dr. Rios probably gonna get mad. If you'll notice, back up towards the top, where the greener part's at and the grayish road or whatever, that is something that the school has actually put together for their side of the property. We were concerned about congestion, and the school brought us this proposal. I was running, so I'm out of breath. The school brought us this. If you'll look, there's a way to get out onto Main Street and onto Wildcat. When you ask about the partnering, I think it'll come. Do we have something signed on paper in an MOU or something as of right now? No. I think this is a good start because you already look at the school district is already putting together plans on their side for some other fields and a road to help with congestion out of the fairgrounds, whether it be for rodeo events or bull riding or barbecue cook-off or sports complex, okay? I will tell you that if we get further along and this is the place to build it, and this is where the court decides to build it, we will go to the city for some, and John's back there right now, we will go to the city for some EDC money to ask them to throw some funds into it, EDC money. But do we have something signed today with the school district and with the city of Del Rio? Perfectly clear, no.
okay,
All right, but this is a good start, what you see behind us.
okay,
Okay.
good. And on the SE Ranch, I have not seen, and I don't know if that's available, any type of plans as to what type of fields or how soon the infrastructure would be put out there. And because I'm trying to think in terms of how soon could that project be initiated if it were moved over or decided upon to be built at the SC Ranch? And how much more would it cost the citizens of the community or the taxpayers, Valverde County taxpayers, to pay for any additional infrastructure that may be needed?
The water line, we looked at it, it's about 14,000 linear feet. The numbers that we put together, because the price of pipe and everything right now, 1.5 million? Is that pretty safe, Carlos, is what we looked at? $1.5 million just before we even begin to start. And that would not be with sewer, that would be with septic systems and water line. And the power, we did not look at trying to get a price set on power, but minimum $1.5 million.
And I would like to hear from Commissioner Wardlaw or those, in favor of the SC Ranch, because I'm sure that as you all had input in this plan, you probably have something planned or
You were
for
just
SC
asking
Ranch.
about the cost. The county was just denied a grant. We had applied for a grant. We came in number 11, and they accepted 10. So we just missed a grant. So we have no grant money coming in on any plan on anywhere. So this is going to come out of Valverde County pockets, and where we can. The judge is very good at digging up money. He can find it. So, but there is no grant.
Okay.
So this is,
And do you have some type of a plan as to what, I know you mentioned some football fields and what
No,
else you would
no.
like to see out there?
the gentleman had mentioned football fields that on this one, this plan I'm looking at, there's one football field. And they're talking 80 some odd coaches. They need a lot of football fields.
we need to put something in for, to take care of these kids. And the cost is astronomical, and it'll cost a lot of money. But
Do you
it's
think-
needed.
Do you think that if we move forward with the plan at the fairgrounds, that something could be started forward to plan for the future growth over there at the SE Ranch, maybe day fields for practice or something like that? Because I do feel that there is a need, as Commissioner Vasquez said, for us to have growth. Or was it you? I don't know. I don't know which one. But I'm on that other side. Didn't see you well. But to have growth on the 90 East side, I think economic development should benefit all the community. San Felipe, Highway 90 East, the Chihuahua area. And we shouldn't just focus on one side. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say something real quick. We shouldn't be limited when it comes to fields, especially a sports complex. I mean, we need plenty of room. So we can put not just 4, 5, 6 fields, we can put 10, 20 fields in there. So to me, the SE Ranch would be the perfect place. Plus, this master plan can be transferred over there. The money that we spend on it, we're not going to lose it. I mean, we can always transfer this to the SE Ranch. Thank you.
I'm going to save my comments for the end of it, and I'm going to try to write something down that way I can answer other commissioners' comments. We have a Leonel Frausto. Is he here? You're up.
Good evening, Judge, Commissioners, and everyone here in attendance. My name is Leonel Frausto. I'm a father of 2 young boys that are being raised in what I would call a beautiful county. Due to being sick with COVID-19 as well as a traumatic accident last year, I've been able to have the time to pick up and drop off my eldest son at Sacred Heart Catholic School and watch after my youngest for the past 8 months. I'm grateful to God to still be alive and be able to enjoy sports with them. I've been blessed to be able to attend practices, games, and see my oldest evolve into a young boy. I'm here today to simply ask the courts to move this project forward, as I feel like we've been waiting long enough to see any progress made. Now only have taken 2 steps in the opposite direction. I find it would be in the county's best interest and challenge you to make a motion for design and build on moving forward on having the complex be built at the county fairgrounds. Why? Because having it be built in the heart of the county makes it easily accessible to all the community, as well as the patrons who will be interested in using it for any tournaments, practices, or functions. And having the sports facility located in the vicinity of 5 school campuses and in a well-populated area, it would encourage the youth to be more actively engaged in their community, as well as form better connections within each other. I have never seen the gates to the fairgrounds locked, nor expected it to be a reality, and it saddens me to see this happening in other public parks. As a concerned parent, we as a sports community do not wish to overtake the space, just simply share a piece of land that was initially intended for what we are asking. With the facility being built at the fairgrounds, it will not only benefit the youth in sports, but also the folks who are already using the facility by having some upgrades and general upkeep to the entire area, making it a nice addition for years to come. I would personally like to thank the coaches, parents, and children who took the time out of their schedules to come together this evening to show the need of this goal to be reached. And please, I ask for all who can vote to get out and cast your vote in the upcoming city and county elections. I intend to be running for a county commissioner, precinct number 2 seat.
Real quick, we're not gonna play politics here.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, and God bless everyone.
David, Mr. Ortiz, you want to come on up, if you don't mind?
Judge, I'm here on behalf of the Del Rio Babe Ruth. I've been involved with baseball ever since I moved back here after graduating from law school. And this is the community I love. This is I see up here friends and family, people I respect, friends and neighbors that we all go way back. And, going back to the history of how this process, of how we've gotten here, reminds me from day one. I moved back here in September of 1996. And I remember the first go around in 1998 when we proposed that sports complex up on Eagle Pass Hill, and how excited we were about that project possibly moving forward. And then we saw it go down in flames. Then we go with the bond issue. And one of the concerns that I have and our league, I remember when I found out that we were purchasing the SC Ranch, and when I understood that we were purchasing that property for the protection of Laughlin, I actually approached Judge Owens and I asked him, I said, what are your plans for that location? And he said, we thought about putting the sports complex out there. And because of that, I always had that vision of what that sports complex would look like. And so I've always had that vision in my mind of the sports complex at SU Ranch. However, the flip side is I'm also a realist. And I realize first thing we have to protect is Laughlin. Priority number one. If Laughlin says it's not a good idea, it's against our mission, it'll affect whatever their mission whatsoever, no question, it doesn't go there. So then I'm also a realist to realize and look at the situation and say, okay, what can we do? I saw the bond issue go down in flames the second time. And then when I look at the plan and I realize that the only way that it's going to be built to the SE Ranch is for another bond issue to come up before this community. And I just do not see, based upon our history, that this community would support that bond issue to pay for the fields at the SE Ranch. So being realistic, and even though putting aside the vision that I had in my mind of this possible sports complex, ourselves and the community and the sports leaders got together and they passed this resolution because we want to see some action now. We want to see some movement. And the reality is that in my mind, if it doesn't go here at this time, then it will never go anywhere and we will never have it, period. Thank you.
I might say this wrong. Sovi? Is there a Sovi? Villalobos? Okay. I didn't chop that one up, did I?
Good evening, Judge, Commissioners. Before I get started, I represent Del Rio Laughlin Youth Soccer Association. We actually have a player. He happens to be my son who wants to say a few words, if that's okay.
That's good. You can deal with it. How's that going to work?
There you go.
Got it. Come around so we can see it. Come on around.
My name is Adam. I am in first grade. I like to play soccer, basketball, and baseball. Basketball. But soccer is my favorite. Sometimes my mom has to rush me from one practice to another. I would like a new sports complex where I can play all my sports in one place so my mom doesn't have to rush anymore. I like that the sports complex at the Fairgrounds is close to McDonald's. If I play here, maybe my mom will buy me nuggets after games and practices.
The good thing is he's got his priorities set, right? Nuggets and...
He does. So touching on kind of what we're talking about today, just, you know, being close to business, location. So once again, my name is Sovi Villalobos. I represent Del Rio Laughlin Youth Soccer Association. Del Rio Laughlin Youth Soccer has been part of the community since 1984, and through the years we've always struggled with fields. We've moved from fields to field. We started on an abandoned baseball field on Highway 90, across from, I think, the drive-in movie theater. That's before my time. Then we moved to Eastside Elementary. From then we moved to 10 acres on Alderete Lane, which was actually offered to the league by Commissioner Wardlaw, I believe. This land was eventually sold, and our league was on the hunt again for another field. And it was at that time that land was donated for the purpose of a sports complex on Frontera Road. And that's what we currently, or most recently, have called home. Well, as you know, despite COVID and everything, this past season, Frontera roads were under remodeling, and we had to improvise and conduct practices and games at the Del Rio High School practice soccer fields. And despite our displaced, impromptu pop-up fields at the Del Rio High School, I must say that many of the parents much rather preferred the location of the high school rather than the Frontera Road location. They felt it was more centralized, more convenient, and we as a league couldn't agree more, which is why we agree in taking the stance on having the sports complex at the fairground location. This past fall season, we had 298 players registered on 28 teams. However, if we include the other soccer entities in town, there were about 600 kids playing soccer on some sort of team in just the fall season alone. This left our association and others scrounging to find a safe practice space. And this has been an ongoing problem for years, and it's obvious that additional facilities are necessary. And after discussion with other sports associations in Del Rio, it's apparent that this is not only a soccer issue, but it's a sports issue in our community. So although I stand up here representing Del Rio Laughlin Youth Soccer, I'm supporting all sports and speaking for all sports. Because sports define us, inspire us, entertain us. It's essential to our kids' physical and mental health. It builds a sense of community and inclusion, and we feel that the central location of the fairgrounds best fosters this inclusion. It's close enough for kids to walk to, ride their bikes to, more convenient for us moms to drive our kids around and get them to practices. It also exposes them to other opportunities like 4-H. For us at Del Rio Youth Soccer, it'll be a quick drive from the fields on Frontera to the fields to the fairgrounds if we have to utilize both. It's only a 3-mile drive, down Industrial from our Frontera fields to the fairgrounds, and that would be about 6 minutes, where it would be double the distance and triple the time if parents had to take their kids from Frontera all the way to the SE Ranch. The new sports complex will make an important contribution to our county by providing an opportunity for active recreation for our athletes, but it will also benefit the wider community. Tournaments here will bring business to restaurants, hotels, stores just blocks away. As Adam said, McDonald's. An opportunity for our community which would not be as beneficial for a complex located on the outskirts of town. I know that you can argue that the SE Ranch will allow for further growth, but the way I define growth is the growth of my child. The growth of our children, they're like weeds before our eyes. We have 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds that need a complex today. The planning infrastructure that needs to develop the SE Ranch will only add years to getting a complex, years that we can't wait any longer. It's time to invest in our community and our youth sports today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is it Nanette Barrera? Ms. Barrera? Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's hard to follow. But I would like to say I have 6 grandsons, of 4 of which play right now. And like she said, scrambling to go here and there, here and there. It's a lot of time and it's a lot of effort. Their moms are busy. I'm the grandma, of course, and I take them and bring them however I can. But having one stationary place centrally located would make this so much easier for everyone. They could ride their bikes sometimes if I'm not available for the older grandchildren. But I think it would be, I could speak for a lot of people here. There's a lot of kids in sports, And having it centrally located would be very beneficial to so many people. Like she said, the restaurants, a lot of parents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alex Cervantes. Is Alex still here? He's still here.
Thank you. Let me warn you ahead of time, I'm not yelling, I'm just naturally loud. So, not yelling at anybody. Isaiah, he's my son. He's one of my 3 kids. He's got something to say. He's going to wait till I finish. He was brought up right. So, anyways, to start, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you commissioners for being here today. I want to thank you for being proven leaders. You got our community through COVID. You got our community through the immigration crisis. You know how to lead because you've done it before. Each one of you had great successes in this town's time of crisis. So you're capable, and we thank you for your leadership in keeping us safe and accomplishing things during those trying times. Thank you very much for that. Now comes the bad part. First of all, Commissioner Nettleton brought it up. 1997, gentlemen. We've been trying to accomplish this since 1997. That is more than 2 decades. More than 20 years. How many kids went through our schools, through our community, hearing about a complex, hearing commissioners, hearing city government officials talking about a complex. And it's more than 25 years. Actually, we're almost on the 25th anniversary and we still have nothing. The kids have waited too long. You want to know an example of how long they've waited? Go to the Joe Ramos Center. It's the same rims and the same backboards that have been there for 30 years. That's embarrassing. Go to Eagle Pass, go to Uvalde, go to San Marcos, go to San Angelo, go to New Braunfels. See what they have. Come over here. It's embarrassing. I see him trying to be a goalie in a cloud of dust. I see our baseball players playing in uneven fields. I see the leagues begging for scoreboards from private businesses. It's embarrassing, gentlemen. It really is. And somebody else brought it up. Inflation. We're seeing it right now. You build a house, it costs you more. You go buy milk, it costs you more. How much longer, gentlemen, are you guys going to wait for the project to turn from 5 million to 10 million to 15 million to 20 million? How much more are we going to let our dollars trickle away and prices keep going up before we finally decide on doing something? And this last negative point I will bring, I'm going to, and I know this is risky.